This episode of Inside the Goblin Universe brought to you by SeatsLink.com, the complete ticket experience. Use promo code GOBLINS with your purchase. SeatsLink.com.
Hi everyone, I'm David Cook, host of the Ghost Hour on KCOR Digital Radio, and you're listening to Inside the Goblin Universe.
Hello again, folks, and welcome to another edition of Inside the Goblin Universe. I am one of your hosts. My name is Ronald Murphy.
I'm Bryan Bowden, the other host.
We have a great show tonight, Mr. Bowden.
Yes.
But I don't know. I think we've been doing this now about a year. How many shows do we have under our belt now?
30. 30 together.
30
yes, you have a little bit more without me with some other little kid.
Right, those don't count. It's just us, you and I together in this particular dysfunctional relationship. But I alternate between calling you Bowden and Bowden. So,
okay, I'll give you the skinny on it. Okay, it's an English. It goes back to England, my family, that portion of it. And if you're in the north, it's Bowden, and if you're in the south, it's Bowden.
So I'm not wrong then.
No, you're not.
Any which way I said. And it's interesting that your name actually has a derivation of British ancestry, because we actually have a British person on with us tonight.
Yes, we do. We actually have a fantastic English person on the program. He's actually a friend of mine. We became fast friends, Dave. We met on another program. He is the host of KCOR Digital Radio's The Ghostly Hour. And ladies and gentlemen, he's also an investigator. But this is David Cook. Dave, welcome to the Inside the Goblin Universe program. How are you tonight, or this morning, actually, where you are?
Gentlemen, thank you for asking me, first of all. It's such an honour to be on your show. I've loved it ever since I've started listening to it. And it is just gone, almost 10 minutes past 3 in the morning here in the UK.
And that's the other thing I want to point out to our listeners, that Bryan and I right now, we're on the East Coast, so it's only 8 minutes after 10.
Right.
But Mr. Cook is coming to us at shortly after the witching hour, the completion of the witching hour, at a little bit after 3 o'clock in the morning. So I give him props for staying up and being on this little program with us tonight. But it's essential. We have a deep, abiding love for everything English. We're Anglophiles at heart.
Yes.
And I think that the British do things a little bit differently whenever it comes to probing into the paranormal. I said that one time on an internet talk that we were having, a little chat that we were talking, and I was sort of bombarded by a lot of insults because people here in America think that everything's done exactly the same. But I have to be the one to point out that I do believe that it's done slightly differently. What do you think, Mr. Cook? What is your take on the difference between paranormal investigators across the pond? The Yanks and the Brits. What is your take on that?
Well, to me, the Brits seem to do it a bit more conservatively, shall we say. They don't tend to go in. To me, I don't know, Americans seem to go in gun-ho. Pardon the pun.
Yeah, we kind of
do. You go in, you're ready, you ask questions, you're chucking things out there straight away. But it seems the British people tend to go in and we don't say nothing for a little while.
That's right. Yep.
It's sort of only the seasoned investigators that actually go in, start the ball rolling, so to speak. But otherwise, people just stand there and just wait for things to happen.
Yeah, and that was my argument. I've studied over in England for a while, and I've done some paranormal investigations over there as well. And my take on the whole situation was that whenever an American goes into some place, they become very combative. They start calling things out, and always it's some sort of demonic involvement to an American. That's the thing right now. And I was getting pummeled by people getting very vicious and saying, there's nothing wrong with the way the Americans do this, but I personally think that there are. And you guys have been doing this for thousands of years before America was even thought of. So I'm going to give everything over to the British side and take a lesson from you guys.
I appreciate that, but I do think there are times when you go into a place for the first time and you do need to be a bit conservative. You do need to hold back a bit because you don't know what you're getting into. And if you start throwing insults out there, start provoking something, then you'll get results, but it will be the wrong results.
Yes. Now, before we jump into everything, I'm sorry about that, Brian. I know that you're biting at the bit there, but let's talk a little bit about, Dave, how did you get started in this? What made you want to do this for the better part of your adult life?
Well, it all started when I was about 6 years old. And my first experience was I told my mum that she's not my first mum. But I still love her.
That must have been a shock to your mom when you said that.
Yeah. And according to my mum, I told her what the name of my first mum was. But unfortunately, as time's progressed, neither me nor my mum can remember what that name was, because I would love to look it up.
Do you know how old your original mother was in relationship to this? I mean, you know the conversation, and you're missing the name, but can you guess how old you are or your spirit is that you would come up and say that?
I have no idea, to be honest. Ever since my mum's brought it up, I have been trying to sort of rack my brain to see if I can remember things more. I've even tried meditating to see if it will take me back
to that moment.
But unfortunately, I've got no answers yet for that.
I'll tell you, I don't know if Ron has ever experienced this, but I was with my youngest, and we were cleaning out something, and she had to take a nap, and so I sat in the car with her, and she's sleeping about half an hour, and the next thing I heard her from the back saying, "I was with your grandmother before I came here." Now, my daughter was 3 at the time when she said that.
Yeah, I've never had that experience. I have my children oftentimes say they wish that I was not their father. I hear that, but nothing else about having any kind of past life. Although I do thoroughly believe in it. I mean, I've read a lot of very convincing evidence about people talking, in depth about places where they had lived and other family members. And I think that, well, what is your feeling, David? How does this whole thing work? What does it mean to have a soul? What is a spirit essence? What is going on? How can we keep on going around in this rodeo time and time again? Do you have any kind of thought process about what happens, how souls are kind of recycled and sent back out again?
It's all to do with energy and frequency. The universe is basically one big frequency. That is how I believe some of us are able to tune into the spirits, and unfortunately some people can't, because over time we've developed other ways of communications through speaking, sign language, and so that part of our brain that we used to communicate has now been sort of blocked, so to speak. We no longer need a need for it, so we don't use it anymore. And I believe that when we do pass, and I've got to thank Albert Einstein for this, for his theory, because this is a theory I've been going down since I've done the research on it. He says that energy can transform. It can transform into heat, light, and chemical energy. So if that's the case, then energy can be transferred. And if it can be transferred, it can occupy another body.
So on the energy side of this, and going back to Einstein and the theory, which I like it because I do believe there is a frequency that where people are more receptive to. We are almost like transistor radios, and we pull in what we want to hear. Sometimes when you get something that's a little bit scary, and those people that choose not to use these gifts are fear the strangeness of it, because it's not. You got to be, not in the norm. But do you think the energy and your gift and what you've been given, and I believe it goes back to your parents, correct?
Yeah, my dad can see ghosts. My mum has the gift, but she does not want it.
See, that's the thing. They have it, they know they have it, but they choose to not acknowledge it. Do you think it's just recycling of the same bit of energy over and over again until it gets something right? Or is it, it's just at will, next lifetime you won't be you, but you'll be maybe someone you've interacted with and they'll come through?
Yeah, that's a good question. Is it like an Eastern philosophy or an Eastern religion that you're trying to make right for past mistakes, some sort of penance throughout time and space? Or is it just, kind of a shot in the dark thing that these things can just happen, with energy, as you said, just kind of escaping and seeking out vibrations?
Right.
Well, for me, prime example was I saw a friend's uncle. And he said he could not move on until he got off his chest what he needed to, and he was forgiven for what he'd done. Now, for me personally, he was trapped. He felt trapped here until he actually got that resolved. So I don't think we actually come back to try and resolve the issues that we had in a previous lifetime. Well, I was going to say, in the spirit world, as we know, there is no such thing as time.
Right.
So I believe that we occupy another body when we are ready to come back.
See, I like it. I like it. I like it. Now, I am I'm a practicing religious person. I'm a Catholic, and I see absolutely nothing wrong with that idea that you had right there. And actually, as I've studied different religions from around the world and different philosophical ideas and notions, I don't see this as being contradictory to any idea of the divine. It seems perfectly natural that if spirits are, frequencies of energies, that we can also tap into that divine energy as well, but we can also go to other places through different conduits to, that's just what we're made of. We're made of this kind of energy, like you had said. Einstein said it as well, too, that, this energy cannot be destroyed. It can change, but it can't be destroyed.
Right.
And it makes perfect sense for me, not only from a religious point of view, but also from, a mathematical and physics point of view as well.
Well, like I say, when I saw my friend's uncle, he was in the spirit form. And he did ask me to pass the message on to his nephew. So hopefully, now he's resolved, that issue is passed on. But then you get the other kind of spirits who are happy to stay as a spirit, because they can roam around wherever they want. Like you say, you can go wherever you want. There's no time. It can always be daylight if you want it to be daylight. It can always be nice and sunny if that's what you want. And so some of them haven't got a reason really to come back yet.
So that is like the spirit world.
That's what that was my next thing, Brian. See,
right.
We're on the same frequency here. So, David, let me ask you: are all spirits then deceased souls, or are you finding that there might be other entities responsible for hauntings as well? And this is where we would get into the demonic side of things.
Right.
Well, funny you should mention that, because I have actually come across some other entities, not just the human spirit as we called it, and it was not a pleasant experience. In fact, it took me out the paranormal field, and I mean no messages, no getting in contact with spirits, no investigations, no nothing. It took me out of the field for 6 months.
It blocked you from actually using your gifts for 6 months? Was it Hold on. Was it blocking you, or was it attached to you and like saying, hey, now I'm going to mess with you because now, you pissed me off and I'm going to piss you off? Pardon the expression, but...
No. What it done, it made me question myself, because while I was at the premises, that's where it messed with me. I was thankful, and I still thank God today. The guardian that was there, it was just this pure white light. If it was not there on this night, I would not be sitting here now talking to you.
So was this an investigation? I know you do a ton of investigation. You're willing to help out anybody. Most people that have these gifts are really willing to help people out. There's no charges involved. It's just trying to get answers for people, and I think that's the payback for having the gift. So were you doing this as a case for someone, or were you just said, I'm really curious about this place. I've heard rumors about it. I'm going to go in there, and then wham, you get confronted by this other entity, non-humanist, and that's where all hell breaks loose.
No, it was actually a case for someone. It was a friend's aunt and uncle's house. And within 2 minutes of speaking to them, basically I met them at my friend's son's birthday party. And we got talking. Within 2 minutes of speaking to them, I told them about a dark shadow that was in her son's bedroom doorway. And the look on her face basically confirmed to me what I'd said had run true to her. And she asked me how I knew. And I said to her, I can see a white light sitting in a chair staring at this doorway. And it's the white light that's stopping the shadow coming into your son's bedroom.
Right. Nope.
And so I went round there, and I've got to tell you listeners this before I go into the story quickly. If you are not 100% in your mind and in the way you're feeling, please, please, please do not go. Put it off.
Yep.
Cancel it. Do not go, because it will play with you.
Thank you very much for saying that, because I've been saying that since day one when we started doing investigations. We actually had an investigation recently, and I told him, I'm like number 2 in this group, and I told him, I said, I can't go in that room. I am not in a good place right now, and I'm not going there. Even if it's the most, innocent of spirits, once you get that vulnerability, they have you, and let me tell you something, people. These things are not a joke. It's not what you see on TV. This is not a joke whatsoever. They will attach to you. They can kill you. And I'm going to go that far.
Well, let's just say things got pretty intense. It showed me what it looked like. I'm not going to repeat it because it will give your listeners nightmares. And I'll be honest, it is the first time I have ever been scared. Well, I've been doing this for 30 odd years, and this is the first time I've ever been scared.
And you said this was at a friend's house. Is that where it was?
Yeah, it was my friend's aunt and uncle.
All right. Now, do you know why it may have ended up there? Do you know if there was any kind of background to why that kind of spirit might have been residing there or taking up residence?
Like the land or previous...
Yeah, that's the history of the place. Or is this something that was simply lying in wait for you?
Like an opportunistic type of haunting.
From what I got when I walked in, this dark entity, it was there for her son. Because it seemed like he was at a certain crossroads in life where he could either go one way or another. And this thing was trying to lead him down the wrong path.
Now when you say different crossroads in life, I don't know how old the son was. Can we give it an age? Because although kids suffer from depression and certain aspects early on, I see that happening more so with the teenage years, where you're kind of confused, you got the hormones going, life's a little bit more complicated, and, it's more drastic. Was it?
Well, I believe he was 18.
Okay, so he was in that prime spot where that angst and things aren't going right, and a lot of kids suffer or people suffer from a depression, be it chemical or just, socially set on depression. So, yeah, okay. I could see that, and wow, that's an opportunity, right?
Right, and I have actually dealt with this case as well, too, over in my neck of the woods here in western Pennsylvania. And this was probably about a decade ago. And there was a young man that was very, very troubled, again, about 18 years old. A lot of times you hear these stories happening with adolescent girls, but it does happen on occasion with young men as well, too. But the boy in this particular case was feeling thoughts of suicide mixed with a substance abuse. And I would think that if there is evil entities out there, that these are the type of people that they would be attracted to, because they could do they would have to do very little to persuade somebody that is in that particular predicament to do the wrong thing.
Exactly, and it knew the further down the wrong path her son would go, the stronger this thing would get. And so it loved it. It wanted it more.
It's almost like a food source for these entities and the evil side of the spirit realm. It's a food source. They need these things to get more power, to survive, to hang on longer. I mean, I can only imagine, and I kind of got a little mental image in my head of what this thing may have looked like. Not a pleasing thing. I definitely would not want to meet it in the dark or even in the daylight. But it's just, how did you? If this guardian that you talked about being there, this white light, do you think that the higher plane, the God, if you want to go there, knows that these things exist and sends like guardian angels, or like your job is to go there and make sure this thing doesn't get out of hand? Was it there for that reason, or was it a guardian angel for this child or the family?
Well, it seemed like it was there anyway, this guardian, because it turns out it was the uncle's dad. And it seemed like he wanted to make up for something.
So,
sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, like, when you said it was the uncle's dad that was there, guardian, being the guardian. Now, is the child in this maybe getting the repercussions of the sins of the father, where someone else in your family has done something, they know they made a mistake, they've passed over, and now they're trying to come back to rectify it, but you now become the burden of their mistakes?
That's a good point. I never thought of it that way, to be honest.
And so you know that, like, look, I messed up, but I'm not going to let this happen to my grandson or my nephew. Sometimes, that term, sins of the father, it seems they use that a lot with the Kennedys in the country, in the U.S., the curse of the Kennedys. It's because supposedly Joe was a real bad guy, and he did some not nice things, so everybody else has been paying for his mistakes. But in this case, it could have been the same thing. The father was, or the grandfather was not a good person, and he knew it, but he was trying to redeem himself. So maybe his task getting into the heavenly gates was, you got to go down there and you got to protect your grandson because you made the mistake, not them.
Yeah, it could have been his mistake that left the negative energy around, and then he's come back to stop this negative energy that he created in the first place by doing the things that he done.
It's just a theory.
No, that sounds, believe it or not, the most logical theory.
Yeah, absolutely. It really does. And I'm quite impressed by my co-host here, Bryan Bowden.
Well, it's kind of hard. Dave and I had a long conversation. I could have gone for hours, but I had to get up for work at one point. And he has his gifts and I have my little gifts, and we'll just leave it at what I do. And you get these, and as I've been developing what I do, these images just start flying in your head. Now, I need to put up blinders and roadblocks or walls, as my mentor has told me, and I do that purposely because I have other problems I have to rectify and take care of first, and I can't play around the spirit world and the real world at the same time. So when people talk about certain things, if we have a connection, and you're connected to certain people, you kind of pick up on a little bit of what they have, what's going on. So that's the vibe I was getting while reviewing this case. While I was listening to you, Dave, I was feeling something to that effect. So that's why I brought it forward. But I also think this way in general. I always think outside the box.
Good way to be in this field.
There's no other way to think in this field.
Well, I don't know. You get some who seem to think just one way, and they think that's the only way.
Well,
we have that over here as well, too, my friend.
Yeah, we got people like that.
Yeah. So now let's shift gears slightly and talk about some of the historic haunts that you've investigated.
Yes.
Again, I'm completely fascinated with England. I was actually in graduate school. I focused on the history of the British Isles. So let us talk a little bit about some of the great hallmarks of history that stand over there. Have you ever went to any ancient sites like Avebury, or have you been to Stonehenge and kind of try to pick up on what might be going on there to this very day?
I haven't been to Stonehenge, but when I watch documentaries about it, I always seem, I don't know, it's like people in cloaks and they're sacrificing something on a stone in the middle.
Whoa. Like an animal or a human? I mean, because there's a big difference between sacrificing an animal to somebody versus the human being.
From what I've been seeing, it's more animals. More things like goats.
Goats. So, do you think they're the pagans, or they're on the pagan side of it, or, I mean, it's. I guess when Stonehenge was built, really, was there any type of major organized religion for the most part?
I don't think it was pagans, because that's not their style.
Yeah.
Oh, so interesting. Well, so you think that this was back in antiquity, though, correct? You think that this was something that definitely predated Christianity?
Yeah, it definitely stemmed way, way back.
Okay, so by you saying it was non-pagan, then you're saying that it was not the insular type of this is
We're breaking up right now. Ron, I'm going to
Yes,
mark this.
I'm here.
You're breaking up, so ask the question again.
Oh man, I cannot believe that this gosh darn Skype. Okay, so all right, let's see, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
So you said that you felt that it was a non-pagan type of thing. So are you talking about something that was pre-Christian and also different than the religion at the time that would have been in the British Isles, which would have been a Judaic kind of religion?
That's what it feels like with the hoods and the cloaks. It does feel more Druid style.
Very, very interesting. Very interesting indeed.
And one of your gifts, Dave, can you like I call it remote viewing. The person I work with, she calls it something else. She calls it just reading. Can you think of something, a coordinate or a period in time, and actually try to get yourself to that period of time to see what really took place? Case in point, the Knights of the Round Table. Camelot, this mystical place. Can you see yourself going and finding that location? Or is that totally not what you do?
Believe it or not, I have actually done that a couple of times, but it's been more present day. A friend of mine, Becky Fickers, she done a live investigation. I can't remember the place at the moment, but I could see the little girl they was trying to get in touch with. And she was laughing, she was running around everyone there. But then I see her going out the door, turning right, and then she went into the third door on the left. And when I told Becky this, she said that is the most haunted room in the house that they was at.
That's pretty fascinating when you can do stuff like that. That is awesome. It blows, even investigators, seasoned investigators, when they come up with someone who has a true gift and ability, and they start telling them things that they should not know, it just, all bets become off. It's all, you kind of want to explain it, and you just got to chalk it up to a great gift, and apparently you have it.
Well, that's what made me really want to help people with this, because I could possibly give them some answers that other people couldn't, and I could quite possibly help put their mind at rest, knowing that their loved ones are okay, they are still around, they've took the love with them, and if they're still needed, they're going to be there.
That's wonderful. I mean, honestly, seeing so much pain in this world, that to have that be able to come back and know that there's somebody else there. That
reassurance,
yeah,
right?
That's great.
Without any kind of drugs or anything, which is even greater.
Well, I do say to people, I cannot guarantee results, because it is all down to the spirits at the end of the day. If they want to come to me and tell me things, then that is up to them, but I cannot force them to come to me. Otherwise, they will get upset and I'll get nothing.
What other famous or famous locations or historical spots in the UK have you investigated where you've encountered some, I guess, famous spirits or anything unusual, like something that's like, I met Louis or King Henry VIII.
Oh, funny you should mention that, because I've got a building near me called Eastbury Manor House. It's literally a 5-minute walk away. That's how close I am. And we've done an investigation now. And as we was leaving, someone just took a random photo at one of the windows. And at this window, you can clearly see Henry VIII.
That's great. We got to get a copy of that. Throw that up on our website and throw it up on the groups. That's all right with you.
Was it the overweight version or the younger, more svelte version?
No, it was the overweight version.
Right.
Unfortunately, it wasn't me who took the photo. No, I'll give the person one of my business cards, and I said, "Can you email it to me, please?" And they haven't done it yet, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, the lucky shots. That's basically like I love those. But wow, Henry VIII, huh? Did they see any of his wives? He had a ton of them.
What was it? They took a photo in the next window, and you could actually make out another 3 faces. Whether any of them was his wives, I cannot say.
Probably was.
That's right. Well, if you can see their faces, they might have been holding their heads because a couple of them had lost them in the whole scandal. So. Yeah.
I think I'd lose my head married to him as well.
Now, David, besides Ghost, have you investigated anything else? I'm a big cryptid guy, and I actually have been had the opportunity of investing the Woodwose over there in the UK. Do you do any other kind of cryptid type of investigations as well?
I've not been invited on any yet, unfortunately, but if the opportunity come up, then I'd love to take it.
Well, if we are able to get over there to go to a conference, if we have the necessary means to get on over there and we get over there, you will be the first one I invite, David. We'll look up some pretty old English manuscripts that show where these things were supposedly said to be inhabiting, and we'll take off. I am definitely a cryptid guy through and through. I love the ghosts and everything, but I'm a sucker for things that go bump in the night that have 2 legs and walk upright.
Well, I've got to admit, I do believe in Bigfoot, because I believe there are species out there that we have not documented yet, because the world is an absolutely massive place. We can't explore all of it in a lifetime. So I do believe there are Bigfoots out there, just classed as a different species to us.
What about the quintessential, and I have to say because I'm an American, and the American werewolf in London? How about a werewolf or a shapeshifter, that type of creature? Do you think you guys have some of those in the UK? Because there have been sightings.
I believe shapeshifters are anywhere, but I believe they're called jinns.
So you're gonna attribute the shape-shifting to the jinn versus maybe another type of spirit, other entity, because that's an interesting thing, because that's part of the jinn's MO, modus operandi. They will take on whatever form suits them for that moment.
Well, doing a show on the jinns, I actually looked into it, and it turns out, if the research and the theories are correct, that we actually pushed the jinns into another dimension off this earth so that we could occupy it. So now the jinns have got a grudge against us humans, but you do get your good ones. There are the good ones, but you do get the others who wish to be practical jokers, who will try and scare you, and they will even take, on occasions, forms of spirits that you may recognize to try and trick you.
Yes. And they do that purposely because they're pretty pissed off, from what I understand in my research, at us human beings. I'm going to make a suggestion for the Ghostly Hour. If you can get her on there, she's a wonderful person. But Rosemary Ellen Guiley that's her. I mean, she knows a lot about everything, but the jinn, right there, up there on her list. And she has interactions with him on probably a daily basis. So try to get just get her on your show. You're gonna love this.
Ah, will do. Thank you for that. Ah, wasn't she the one that wrote the book on the gins?
Yes, she did.
That's right. I think every book that I've ever written, I've parenthetically documented her in some way or the other.
Well, it's really funny because I'm part of this other group in the U.S. That meets up once a month, UFO Roundtable. One of our members, Paul Greco, he's the guy that started it for the most part. He's friendly with Rosemary Ellen Guiley, and I became friendly with her, and she gave a lecture in our classroom-sized room, which is fantastic. And she had her books there for sale, and anybody would want them. And she autographed each book. Be careful what you wish for. The genie in the bottle. So
the whole pun thing, yes.
Yeah,
right.
and she meant it.
Yeah. Well, I wrote a book just recently on vampires entitled, curiously enough, On Vampires. And I have a section in there on the idea and the notion of the jinn, because at one time it was believed that the jinn would prowl about and like to frequent burial yards, old graveyards, and they would actually inhabit the body of a newly deceased person and use that body as a vehicle by which to get around, So when we talk about the jinn, it transcends so much. It goes beyond the idea of hauntings, also into, vampiric activities and demonic activities. So whenever we're talking about these things, if these entities do indeed exist on some plane and they're able to interact with us in some way, then we're talking about a very frightening creature here.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing is as well, where it's so good at what it does, it's very hard to distinguish from a normal person.
Yeah, that's right. It is the quintessential demon, isn't it? Even if you don't prescribe to that kind of notion of evil spirits, but it is the quintessential demon. It appears as something completely different, and it has motives that are not to your benefit.
Well, I guess that's what we get for driving them off.
That's right.
It's the price to pay for the earth that we live on. Instead of heaven or hell.
I think Pennsylvania, the University of Pennsylvania, the Ivy League one, and not the football one. They have actually in their museum these artifacts from Mesopotamia, dating back probably 4,000 years, that show these incantation bowls and these other type of I guess you would call them talismans against the jinn. They would actually name them by name. And so before you had the idea of the crucifix, you had these kind of prayer bowls in your house to drive the jinn out of it.
I'm actually looking at one of them right now. I have a blue eye, very Middle Eastern, and it has the blue around the cobalt blue, white area, and then a blue and black dot in the center. I know them very well. Do you realize that when King Solomon was supposedly building the temple, he didn't craft it whatsoever. He was given a ring, which is this basically, I think it's the Star of David for the most part, and that ring allowed him to command and control the jinn to do his bidding.
Yes, I've heard that theory before. David, have you actually heard that before as well?
Yeah. As soon as you mentioned the ring, I thought, I remember this.
That's,
talk about someone who has a boatload of spirits looking to get some payback on there. Have you encountered other things besides the jinn and some other spirits? Have you ever encountered something more in the line of a higher power, angels, or do they talk to you? Do they come by you, help you out?
Well, believe it or not, at one point I was going through a really bad depressive state, and I thought to myself, right, I've got two ways of doing this. I can either go down the drug road, where I'll get tablets for it and possibly get addicted to them, or I can try the meditation side. So I thought, let's give the meditation side a try, because the spirit's been screaming at me for ages to do it. And the first day I'd done it, I was lying on my bed. All of a sudden, this red Indian appeared beside my bed. He had a clay pot in his right hand, He had an eagle feather in his left hand. I do not know what was in this pot, but it was smouldering. And he just waved the smoke over my body as if to cleanse it.
Wow. That's a powerful image.
The second night, I had my dead relatives come and actually hover over me with a massive smile on their face, as if to say, he's ready. The third night, I went through this massive cloud, and the only way I can describe it's like cone-shaped, and I was just going through it. I don't know where I was going until the fourth night. I actually got to a place where if I could have stayed there, I would have done. Imagine somewhere with the greenest grass. The grass was really soft on your feet. You had this just brilliant blue sky. The fluffiest white clouds you could think of. We had a mountain range with beautiful white glistening snow in the sun. And all these spirits were just flying around me. You could see the top half of their body, but their bottom half was just like a trail of white light. And they was just flying all around me, and I was not fearful or nothing. I felt so loved, so welcome there.
Did you have did you see any of these structures that may have been there? And if you did they have like a goldenish hue to them, or like a glistening, like a warm glistening where it's bright, but you can still make out the details?
There was no structure there as such, but it was just, I don't know the way to describe it. It was just so beautiful there. Everything just felt so warm, so loving, so caring. It felt like you belonged there.
Do you think you got yourself at the right frequency of vibration that you were able to raise yourself up to that heaven? Or I don't want to put terms in there that some people may not agree with, but the thought process these days is, we have to raise our frequency and vibration. And Ron and I have been talking about this for a long time. You get so much more when you're more at peace, and we think that meditation does work to get you to deal with the problems and make these problems go away. But it raises you to a holier level, maybe the first level of heaven, and you get to the Akash records or that area where they're stored. Do you think you got to that point?
I think I got to that point where they needed to show me where I'm going to go next with what I do. And I've got to admit, after that experience, it seems like I've become more sensitive with my gift.
That's awesome. That it's almost as, I like the fact that your relatives were around you and they said he's ready, because they probably sensed, we were talking earlier about energy, and they probably saw or felt the energy changing to that positive flow instead of a negative flow, or the current was going the right direction. So from this point forward, you have is your gift vaster, wider, or is it more in tuned?
I'd say it's more in tuned.
And do you continue with this meditation on a daily basis, or as often as you can?
I try and do it as often as I can. I should do it on a daily basis, to be honest. But where I'm so busy with things at the moment, I know it's a poor excuse, but where I'm so busy with things, it's hard to try and fit 5 minutes in.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, do you use any kind of incense, or do you use candles? Do you do any other kind of peripheral type of things to allow you to ascend?
No. Well, basically, all I do is I close my eyes, control my breathing. I've got a certain music frequency that I play, and I put headphones on so that I block out anything else around me, and it just allows me to relax and just ease off into wherever it decides to take me.
Do you use binaural beats? I think they're called binaural beats. They have different waves, like theta waves and alpha waves, and it's mixed with some ambient music, and it just is able to raise you to higher planes.
Yeah, I found it on YouTube as it goes, of all places.
No, it's a great place. We find a ton of stuff on YouTube. It's a great source. But if it does the job, it's even better. But that's...
Well, I think this one's about 3 hours long, and I'm lucky if I get 10 minutes into it before I'm wherever I've got to go.
Well, that's great. I mean, I know that it's... I don't know if you guys remember those 3D images where you stare at it long enough and like a sailboat comes out or something.
No, right.
and I know tons of people, because I've encountered them, where they're trying to do what you just did, David. They're trying to ascend to a higher plane, and they could go for 10, like 30 hours. They're never going to get there because I guess they wanted too much, or they're still hanging on to like a foundation or an anchor. So every time I hear this, when you do it in 10 minutes, some people will do it in 30 minutes, some people will just never get the chance to it. Is there a way that you think would help other people out to try to get to this level? Because it seems like it's working. The meditation works.
Yeah, although, let me just say, are you ascending, or is heaven transcending to you? Do you see what I mean? Are you rising yourself up, or do you get to a certain point where you are at the point where you're experiencing a revelation?
No, I believe I was ascending, because on the third night, just before I went through the clouds, I actually felt myself lifting off my bed.
Oh, right. And see, this makes perfect sense as well, is because when we look at, medieval art and the idea of angels being winged creatures, that is the way the artists were able to explain it. There's no other way to do it. You're showing something that can go between two worlds, and the best way to do that is showing something with wings. So I think that what you're experiencing and what you're talking about right now is what has been going on for millennia.
Well, the thing was, at the time, it did sort of rattle me, because I'm thinking, where are you taking me? What's going on? But I thought, no, just relax. You're safe. Just let it go. Let it take you wherever you got to go. And at the end of it, I'm so glad I did.
It's hard to let go, isn't it?
It is, especially when you're in that kind of state.
Oh, yeah, and in this day and age, it's hard to let go, because this world is not forgiving to anybody. Unfortunately, we have more predators than we have prairie, and the moment that you're down and out, or you're hurt, or you're whatever, it seems like anything's going to jump out and a jackal is going to try to grab you. So, yeah, I commend you for being able to let go. It's a very difficult task.
Well, I think that's the problem nowadays as well, like you say, where people can't let go. They do this, they get agitated because it's not working, then their mind gets clouded again, so they try again, it's not working, they just get frustrated and they give up.
Well, we're not giving up. That's why we continue to do the Goblin Universe. We are giving into some time that we have left, about 8 minutes left, and I definitely want to touch on your wonderful program that's on Sundays, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I believe, the Ghostly Hour. So how's that going? You had a great guest on recently.
Oh, that is going fantastic. I could not have predicted it's going as well as it has. At the moment, I went to Paraforce at the end of September this year, and because of that, at the moment, my show is booked with guests all the way up to March next year.
Awesome.
Holy cow! That's quite impressive, my friend.
Well, we have to squeeze Ron Murphy, the crypto guru, on your show if you can.
I'll squeeze you both on.
That's fine with me. That's awesome, though.
You're more than welcome to come on anytime.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, heck yeah.
Oh, anytime at the end of March.
That's right. Anytime in 2019 will be great.
Yeah, that'd be great.
No, we'll work out a date and I'll get you on my show.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
I love that. Heck yeah.
But it's great to know that when you see, this is what you do is what Ron and I do. We're positive people. We go out to these events. We want to experience the event, and we wind up making new friends and getting new people on this program and spreading that positive vibe and message. And if you haven't checked it out, Dave, it's on KCOR Digital Radio Network. and it's Sundays at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And do you happen to have a website or anything, like where people want to reach out to you or anything? Do you have a davidcook.com any place?
No, unfortunately. I have got a Facebook page, which is David Cook. I've got the Ghostly Hour Facebook page as well. Or you can reach me on the KCOR Facebook page or through the KCOR website.
So if anybody listening to our voices right now want to get in touch with you, they readily can get in touch with you.
Yep, my profile is public on Facebook, so anyone can message me and I'll receive it.
Perfect.
And you can talk to him, too. You can call into the station, right? I mean, for the most part.
Yep, you can call in. There's a chat room on the website as well, if you want to leave a message there. So there's loads of ways in which people can get in touch if they want to and if they need any advice.
I think we could all use some advice.
Yeah.
I tell you, these days I could definitely use some advice. And I'm going to go say it again, people, the lottery numbers.
I'll tell you what, David. It was so great to have you on tonight. The hour just flew by. I was just sitting here listening to you talking about your experiences. We look forward to having you on again very soon. I think that this could have easily went a couple hours longer, and I promise that next time it won't be in the wee hours of the week.
Well, like I say, I do night work, so I'm usually don't finish work till 4 a.m. my time.
Oh, my goodness.
So technically he's up, but you still need that break, though, you know.
Yeah, but then I've got 3 days off, so I'm lucky.
So let me ask you before we run out of time, and I think it's a good question to ask, is do you have any visions of the future? Do you see something coming? Do you have a feeling, be it good or bad? Do we have to watch out for something?
To be honest, at the moment, I'm scared about the future, so I'm not trying to sort of tap into that bit. I'm just living every day as it is and just taking my time.
It does have a scary prospect, doesn't it? I mean, you know, the world is a very crazy place right now, crazier than I think it's been most of the time. So I've asked this question of numerous people, and I know people that have tried to I guess sit there and view the future, and everybody keeps saying the same thing. They can't. They're having a hard time viewing it, but they're feeling this negativity. So it doesn't bode well for us as humans on this plane and this planet.
Unfortunately not, but hopefully our predictions won't come true, and everything will work out in the end.
We all have hope, don't we? That's the thing. Is the one thing that was left in Pandora's box after she closed it was hope. So that's the one thing that we have going for us. And I trust in the human species that we will come around to our good senses and hope for everybody's salvation in this crazy thing we call life.
Well, if not, I'm going to be very busy and I'm going to have to wear earmuffs.
Yes, you're going to get calls left and right.
Yeah, and I think I'll have to have blinkers on as well, sunglasses.
This hazard going. Leave me alone.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, Dave. It was a pleasure having you on board with us tonight. I think all of our little goblins that take the trek inside the Goblin Universe with us every week will be looking forward to hearing more from you, tuning into your program, and just wanting to reach out to you. And like I said again, we hope to have you on the show very, very soon. Definitely before March.
I'm penciling in March right now, by the way, Dave.
Got March 28th.
I'll put March 28th in right now. But it's fantastic. And Dave and I we could probably go on for like 6 more hours. We had a great conversation. The things that he was sharing what he does, I share what I do, and it was just, it's kind of like one of the greatest things about doing this is you get to meet new people, and you get to meet people that you have a connection to, even though you didn't realize you have it. It's like meeting a family member, a long lost relative, but a good relative, not the ones that are trying to do harm to you. And it's fantastic that you were able to join us on Inside the Goblin Universe. You got the key to the universe, so you can use it whenever you want.
Like I say, it's been an absolute honour and pleasure to be asked to be on your great show.
Well, thank you very much, my friend. Same to you. And good night there over in jolly old England. And as unfortunately we will have to sign out.
Yes.
So to all the goblins listening to Inside the Goblin Universe, I will bid you adieu. My name is Ronald Murphy.
I am Bryan Bowden.
And we will see you next time inside the Goblin Universe.
The concept of shape-shifting is ingrained in our psyche, lurking in our collective unconscious and stalking our nightmares. Crypto guru Ronald Murphy tracks the dogmen through history, beginning with the hunt in the dim beginnings of the human race, and follows the tenuous track of the werewolf to the modern age. This compelling study seeks the monster in all of us, but more importantly shows the readers the man behind the wolf. On Dogman is available on Amazon.com.